Alright, another day, another video. Making another video about, well, as you can guess, another topic or the same topic rather, because I've already made a video about this, of a topic that I personally love, and I'm talking about it today. So since I made my Arrow video giving my thoughts on the entire series, I figured I would rank each episode, each season, as to how I like it, as to how I love it. Or hate it, depending on which season. And because I'm somebody who's actually stuck with the show since the very beginning, since episode 3, technically episode 2, but, whatever. I've watched the season since the beginning, the series since the beginning, and I've loved it, and I've hated it, and I've just wanted to kill it, and I've just wanted it to live past its shitty days. So, keep in mind that this is a very biased and very unprofessional opinion. This is my pick as to what I'm going to put and what I'm going to place. So if you don't like where I place this, keep in mind it is my opinion and this is how I view the series. Also, this is going to contain some spoilers, not very detailed spoilers, but it is going to contain some spoilers for the seasons in question as to why they suck, as to also why they are pretty good, or why they fucking rule in my opinion. So here we go, starting with Season 7. Holy shit, did Season 7 suck. Oh my god. Season 7 started off really fucking well. It started off with Oliver in prison. He was in prison. Everybody knew who he was, and that was actually a damn decent storyline. He was in the very pit of hell. He was where where he locked everybody up. He locked up Brick, Derek Sampson, Bronze Tiger, and all of these characters were back, and all of these characters were fucking good, especially for this particular part of the season. And as the season progressed, especially after the prison segment when Oliver came back and donned the suit and not the hood, and he was like, you know what, the facade's over, I'm the Green Arrow, but everybody knows who I am, and I'm going to try and prove that I'm a force for good. And that could have been a good storyline, except they felt as aimless as as a guy who was shooting an arrow at a target who was drunk as shit. Holy shit, the amount of storylines that were in this season were ridiculous. I swear to God, I cannot tell you a single plot device that was in this season that actually worked. And most importantly, the villain was weak as shit. Every season, I am telling you, every season that isn't Season 7, I can definitively tell you who the villain is. For Season 7, I cannot. I can tell you by the end, but by the end, I didn't care. That villain was so weak that it was just uninteresting because they never focused in on the plotline. Alright, I'll tell you. It's Emiko Queen. Emiko Queen was the villain of the season, and it was like, oh, he's gonna have to throw down with his sister. And I was like, yeah, and? I don't care because the season never spent that much focusing on Emiko Queen. Her character was as out of the blue, was as uninteresting as any character in the entire series. one of the most wasted potentials in the entire series, and I know you're looking forward to the next one, so we're going to get right into it for my number 7 pick, which is Season 4. Holy fuck, Season 4. Season 4 is probably the most uninteresting season. I mean, everybody was just springboarding of Season 3, and lots of people were mixed on Season 3. It was like, some people loved it, some people hated it, other people were just, meh, it's a season, whatever, it's a series. It's not going to be the greatest TV show ever. But then after Season 2, they were kind of disappointed, but here we go. So season 4 was the season that it tried to flip it all. It tried to flip it, it tried to change it, and it did not work at all. Because it focused way too much on Felicity. Felicity Smoke being a side character, now being brought into the forefront of the entire season. Her character is the main character for the season. And while I did like Felicity in seasons 1 and 2, and grew to like her again in seasons 5, 6, 7, and 8, her character just uninterested me. She was so annoying. Her character flips were just so out of the blue. There was a moment where I was like, I am not a Felicity fan anymore, and that was the two moments, which is technically the same moment, but one was erased and then redone later on in the season. The first moment was in the Flash, or the crossover episode, was where she found out that Oliver had a son, and she just flips her shit and was like, nah, fuck this shit, I'm out. And then she left. And then that was entirely erased, and then they went back, and then a few episodes later, they did it again. Except this time, William is in more trouble, and Damien Dark actually knows about William, and Felicity is now flipping her shit and is like, fuck this shit, I'm out. We're not getting engaged, we're not getting married, fuck yeah. And it was just one of the most boring sidelines, or boring characters, almost annoying characters that just made me want to break the show. For a lot of fans and for a lot of people, it did break the show. The show was just like, everybody was just like, nah, fuck this shit, because what do I like about Felicity anymore? She was likable in the first two seasons. Her character is just not it's not that anymore. And talk about wasted potential, we're going to talk about the villain of this season. Damien Dark is one of the most uninteresting villains in the entire show. His character is probably disappointing because the actor Neil McDonough is actually enjoying himself in the show. He's enjoying himself throughout the season. He's like, you know what? I'm enjoying myself, but what the fuck are you doing with my character? Like, his character is way too overpowered. His character has fucking magic. This is the kind of character that should be in The Flash or Supergirl, not Arrow. Because Arrow he's just a dude. When he goes up against somebody with magic, he should be a fucking pancake. But no, apparently, Arrow's work against a guy with magic who can literally stop them with his hand. And Oliver beats him with magic. Oliver Queen used magic. Now, this is only second worst in my opinion, because season 7 just made it that much more uninteresting. The only thing I like more about season 4 than 7 is that it actually felt like it was trying to do something. It felt like the creators of the show actually cared. Somewhat. They cared more about Felicity than they did about Oliver Queen, but they at least cared enough to have a coherent story. It feels more focused, at least. That's my positive for the season. Otherwise, it gets nothing. Alright. Right into my next one. My 6th pick is the only one that is actually in the right slot. Season 6. Season 6 is... we're getting into the seasons where it's like, alright, whatever. Season 6 was... it wasn't bad, but it wasn't good. No. It wasn't bad, it wasn't great. It was just in the middle somewhere. It was just like... it's a season. It's better than season 4 and 7. But this is the season where it's like where you can really tell that the creators and the producers, the directors, all of them, they focused more on what the fans wanted more than what the story required. And that was very apparent in the opening episode. The opening episode comes after one of the best, if not the best, cliffhanger in the entire series. They dumped all of the main characters on an island and then blew it up with all the characters on it, only not to kill anyone. They put Thea Queen, who is probably my favorite character, one of my favorite characters in the entire show, in a coma for the first few episodes, but that's just because Willow Holland didn't really want to be in the series anymore. And then as time progressed, she was like, nah, fuck this shit, I'm out. And then they gave Diggle like an injury. He had nerve damage in his shoulder, which didn't really do, it focused in on that for the first couple of episodes, or at least the first 7 episodes from what I remember. And then they just sort of retconned it, and they were just like, nah, fuck this shit. We're just gonna give you the Felicity treatment. We're just gonna give you an injection. You'll be right in a couple of days. In fact, you'll be right in a few hours. And then the villains of this season. There's one, Caden James. Caden James is a hacker. He's more of a villain for Felicity, not Oliver Queen. Oliver Queen is going up against this guy, but this guy he's not as interesting as he should be because he's a hacker. What threat does a hacker have against Oliver Queen? Felicity is more in line with that sort of villain, but not Oliver. But as the season progressed, it had another villain, it had another villain, which was Ricardo Diaz, and Ricardo Diaz became this tyrant of the entire season, and his character was at least a little more interesting than Caden James, because he was at least more of a physical presence. He was more of a physical threat than Caden James was. Also, this season has one of my favorite episodes in the entire series, and that is episode 18. If you haven't seen that episode, you need to be a fan of the show to actually like that episode. But if you watched that episode, you loved that episode as much as I did. It was a great episode. And this season did have the element of at least the first two seasons that I liked, which was consequences for your actions. Oliver Queen actually felt the consequences for his actions, particularly after episode 9, because in episode 9 he was like, "What? You want me to trust you guys after what, everything we've been through?" Nah. And his entire crew, Renee, Curtis, and Dinah, they're all like, "What? You don't fucking trust, after everything we've been through, you don't fucking trust us? Peace, we're out." So they leave. And that was interesting, but it wasn't as interesting as it could have been. It was Arrow Civil War. It should have been the grip of the entire season, and it was just, most of the time, it was just, you just didn't care. The characters just should have just left it the way, they should have just, but whatever. Also, Oliver has his son in this season, and that is a dynamic that I actually like. I like that dynamic because it gave more character to Oliver, because Oliver is like, "I'm a father now. I can't be the Green Arrow and be a father. Like, I've got to be. I'm the mayor. I'm a father. I'm the Green Arrow. How am I going to balance this shit out?" And by the end of the season, he's like, "You know what? I'm going to reveal myself to the entire city and lock myself away, or turn myself over to the FBI." And that was interesting. And that was the most interesting part of the 7th season, but it didn't play that off very well at all. Okay. Next pick. Season 3. Season 3 is in the middle of the entire series, because Season 3, it is arguably the most divisive season in the entire series, because Season 3 just springboards off of Season 2, which is arguably the best season in the entire series, to be Season 3, which is probably in the center of the entire thing. My issues with this season is the fact that it feels so clean. The opening scene of the entire season just spells it out entirely. The last season, Oliver lost his company. He has no money. His Oliver Queen personality is it's in the open, and it's like nothing. Anything could happen, but apparently nothing of relevance actually happens to the Arrow character, because the Arrow can apparently still afford all of his arrows, all of his tech, and all of his electricity. Like, how can he afford the electricity if he's bankrupt? Or mostly bankrupt. Okay, I don't have his bank statement, but I'm pretty sure that spending billions and billions of dollars on arrows, equipment, and probably surgery, it'll cost you a lot, and you'd be broke pretty quickly. Just saying. And this season, it was very good. It was good, but it was the season where I was like, okay, you are absolutely Batman, because they go and verse Ra's al Ghul. Ra's al Ghul is the leader of the League of Assassins, and at a point, particularly in episode 9, it was probably one of the best cliffhangers in the entire series, where Oliver goes to face Malcolm Miller. Oliver goes to face Ra's al Ghul, and then Ra's al Ghul actually stabs him and pushes him off a cliff. That ending had everybody going, "What? You just killed the main character of the entire series. This series is focused on this guy, and you just killed him." Ballsy. I like that. Just shows that the series still had nuts. But as the series progressed, they grew less and less confident in their ability to kill characters, or whatever. And then, as the season progressed, throughout the season, really, the Oliver Queen character was more unlikable than he had been in the rest of the series. He was way too much like Batman without the likability, because Oliver was too dick to all of his friends, to everyone, to Felicity, to Diggle, to Thea, to Roy, to all of his friends, and that was something that was like, why are you being so dick to all of your friends? I mean, they're your friends. They follow your crusade because they choose to. And in the opening episode, he just tells Diggle, who's been with him since the beginning, to take a fucking hike because, well, you're a father now. You could die. And you're not allowed to make your own choices anymore because it's my crusade, my decision. And then, of course, Diggle was like, yeah, no, fuck you. I'm sticking around because it's my fucking choice. And then by episode 13, everybody's like, no, we choose to be here. You fucking deal with it. You don't like us here? Fuck you. Deal with it. And this is also the season where they started really hammering in the Olicity bullshit, where it's like, you know, we're not gonna have a relationship like the fans want. We're going to have you have a love triangle because that's the best thing ever. Yeah, that is a storyline that nobody gives a fuck about, and it's the most uninteresting storyline. Twilight did that shit and we hated it. It was the most annoying bullshit in the entire fucking world, and yet we had to put up with it for an entire season. At least we didn't have to put up with it for as long as Friends did. I mean, Friends had to put up with it for 8 fucking seasons. Oh, wait, no, 10. They had 10 seasons. Sorry. I'm watching a different series that has 8 seasons. Not Arrow, but a different series. Anyway. Love triangles and just... It was just uninteresting. There were a lot of moments where I was just rolling my eyes and was like, okay, can we please get back to the interesting shit that was the last season, where Oliver Queen was actually like, he was feeling the weight of the world on his entire being. Everything was crashing in on this guy and he just didn't know how to contain it. He didn't know how to... And Ra's al Ghul in this season, like, I love Ra's al Ghul. The character Ra's al Ghul is probably one of my favorite DC Comics characters ever, because the dude is great. The dude's awesome. I loved him in Batman Arkham City, and I enjoyed him in this season. He wasn't as grand as I wanted him to be, but he was serviceable for the season. He was at least a little more memorable, or at least more relevant than Damien Darhk. And for my next pick, the final season, Season 8. Season 8 is probably, I wouldn't really call it a season of Arrow. It's more of like a mini series really than anything, because this season was, as like even Stephen Amell turned around and said, you know what, this season is not technically a season. It's wrap up really. It's Avengers Endgame for Arrow. Like everybody, it's as fan service as you will get ever. Like, everybody who has watched Avengers Endgame knows what I'm talking about. Everybody's watched Avengers Endgame. It's the highest grossing movie ever. But Avengers Endgame, like Arrow Season 8, it's fan service for days. And they never failed to show a decent story with the season. We knew throughout the season that Oliver Queen was going to die. I did not expect that Oliver Queen was going to meet his daughter. Holy God, that was the opening scene for episode 4 is hands down one of the best moments in the entire show. Like, just watching Stephen Amell just trying to hold it together as Oliver Queen. He was just like, that was his daughter. He was his kid. He just met his daughter that he said goodbye to for ages ago. And it's like, I'm never going to see this kid ever in my life. And the monitor is just like, bam, here's your daughter. You get to meet your daughter before you die. You're welcome. Anybody would break down in that moment. I would break down in that moment. Like, if that was my daughter, I would be like, oh, fuck you, monitor, but thank you. Anyway, but this season, unlike Game of Thrones, it's better. It's a good season. It's actually a decent season. Game of Thrones was like, you know what, we're just gonna do whatever and anything, anything will stick as long as we get to fuck off, But Arrow was like, you know what? The fans want a decent season. The fans want a good send-off for this character and these characters, and hopefully set up for more characters to come back in the rest of the series, or the rest of the universe, rather. here is season 8, and damn was it worth it. It was great, it was good, I enjoyed all the throwbacks. I wish that Manu Bennett was in it, but he wasn't, and well, everybody else got to come back. Why couldn't Manu Bennett? I just, like, the opening scene of episode 10 where Oliver takes down Slade, like, that's a deleted scene. That's actually a deleted scene from season 2. I've seen that scene before, but I liked it in here. I did like the throwback and I liked it in here, but I wish he was back. He's my favorite villain. One of. I still go back between Prometheus and Deathstroke. I really do. They're great. And my number 3 pick, Season 1. Season 1 is what started it off. It's the best. It was the best opening season I've ever seen. Like, I've seen Daredevil Season 1, and I still profess that Arrow Season 1 is just a little bit better. But that's probably nostalgia more than anything. But Daredevil did the same thing that Arrow did, and it was like, right, we're going to take a comic book character and we're going to grit him into reality and we're going to make it decent. Well, it's also the Batman Begins thing, but Arrow did it first. Batman Begins did it first, but if Batman Begins hadn't happened, we wouldn't have gotten Arrow. So there that is. And Arrow Season 1, it was the starting point and the point where you can tell they did have a plan. They had a plan for 5 seasons, or at least they had a starting point and an end point. They just fumbled a bit in between, but they definitely did their best to open it up with a bang. One of the best villains I've ever seen, John Barrowman as Malcolm Merlyn. Holy fucking shit, that dude is awesome. Like, if you haven't seen, I think I said this in my last video, but if you haven't seen John Barrowman in Torchwood by now, you really fucking should. The dude's awesome. Anyway, he is a great character. He's a great villain. And there's also an element that I did say that was one of the weaker elements in season 3, but it is a weak element-ish in this season, but it's not because it's not really a big deal as much as it is in season 3, and that is a love triangle. Like, there is a love triangle in this season, kind of, between Oliver, Tommy, and Laurel. Those 3 characters, like, it never went fully ridiculous to the point where you're like, all right, let's get over this, please. But it did have its moments where it's like, oh, can we please get over this? This is teenage bullshit. Can we please get over it? But it is a great season. The action was beautiful in this season. Like, hands down, favorite action scene in this entire season, apart from the main villain fight scene. Like, apart from the main villain fight scenes, there's 3 in total, is the hallway fight scene. Literally, like, not Daredevil hallway, I'm talking Arrow hallway, where he's just throwing down with a fuck ton of guys and he's just slaughtering. He is cleaning house. And my favorite element of this season is also the fact that he's not a hero, he's a vigilante. He's a fucking killer. He will kill these people. He will be like, you have failed this city. Ah! Yeah. It's just my favorite. Like, if the next 2 seasons hadn't have happened, this season would be my favorite season. Sad because it's the first season, but whatever. Alright, number two pick. Alright. These 2 were very hard to place. They really were. I went back and forth over and over again. I couldn't sleep last night trying to figure it out. Alright. What do I like better? Season 5 or season 2? Number 2 pick. Oh. Alright, it's hard to say. It's hard for me to say. Alright, I'll warm up. Warm up. Season 5. Oh! Alright. Hands down, Season 5 was a great return to form. Season 5 was the producers, creators, writers being like, all right, we know where this series comes from. We know the roots of this series. We know what fans love, and that's the grit. That's the realism. That's the villain that actually is relevant, that people can relate to, because you know that you can relate to a villain that does this sort of shit. Like, if none of us were moral characters and we were good citizens, good Samaritans, and we just, like, you know, called the police when somebody punches us in the back or kills our father, we would do this shit. Like, if somebody kills your father, you would probably flip out on that dude and you would want revenge. Like, anybody would want revenge. And this Prometheus in this season is one of the most menacing villains, one of the most vicious villains I've ever seen. The dude is brilliant because he is a consequence to all of his actions in season 1. Season 1 reflected on season 5. And that I love, like, hands down, my favorite part of my fight and my favorite pick is the consequences that happen because of the previous events. Season 1 translated into season 5 by creating Prometheus, and Oliver is one. I love Oliver being a fucking badass, and the opening scene where the producers are just like, you know what, you didn't like season 4, well, here's Oliver kicking season 4's ass, proving that Oliver Queen can kick this dude's ass because Oliver Queen just isn't holding back anymore. Opening scene is just Oliver cleaning house with anarchy. Like, anarchy is just like, holy shit, I underestimated this dude. I'm getting flipped around and shit and everything. And seeing Oliver being as raw as he is in this opening scene, like when he grabbed that arrow and just shoved it through Anarchy's arms, I loved it. The brutality, the grit, that's what I loved about the first 2 seasons and going to season 3, but they just lost it. And the story progression of this season, like trying to figure out who Prometheus is the most interesting part of the season. I mean, I'm not the biggest comic book fan, so I kind of knew who the villain was because I didn't have anything else, because Prometheus, or Adrian Chase rather, is actually Vigilante, like the character Vigilante, who was also in this season and was actually a presence, as much of a presence as the rest of as Prometheus. Well, not as much, but like Prometheus, and all the fans everywhere, they were just like, "Oh, Adrian Chase is Prometheus, he's Vigilante," and then there was me. It was like, Adrian Chase is totally Prometheus. He's totally Prometheus. And then when episode 15 came out, it's like, I knew that. But it's great trying to figure it out, and Prometheus is the only villain in my personal, humble opinion that has ever been able to break Oliver Queen. Not physically, but mentally. Mentally. The dude, like, he chained him up to the ground for as long as he wanted, because the dude's kinky like that, and he made Oliver Queen confess his sins, the very sin that he's always felt. He enjoys the kill. He enjoys the life. He kills because he enjoys it. Okay, not everybody was a fan of that, but fuck yeah, I was. I was like, oh yeah, we're going Breaking Bad here. He enjoyed it. Fuck yeah. All right, Breaking Bad's better than this series. We all know that, but come on, it was great. It was awesome. I loved it. I just loved the fact that Oliver was like, fuck. If I enjoy this shit, then what's the point of me doing it? I just love season 5. Season 5 has my favorite action sequences, one of my favorite villains, and my favorite character moments. I'm a sap for character moments. But number one in the entire series, season 2. Fuck yeah, season 2. Season 2 is the best season ever. This season proved that the creators had a plan. They knew exactly what they were doing. The characters were better. The motivations were better, particularly for the villain Deathstroke. Deathstroke he's Oliver's past. He's Oliver's past coming back to haunt him, literally. He was friends with the dude, and through a series of very slippery good intentions, like he never intended for any of this shit to happen, but it did, and now he feels bad about it. And it's like, and the dude is just like, I didn't want for Shadow to die. I didn't want her to die. I didn't want Sarah to die. The dude just put me in a very bad spot. Like, what would you have done? What would anyone have done? I mean, me personally, I probably would have run at the guy with the gun, but, whatever. Like, he was obviously strong enough to get free and get in front of Sarah. And if it was me, I would have gotten free and run after the gun. I probably would have gotten shot, but that's just me. I would have died in that scenario. That's just me. I probably would have gotten them all killed, but whatever. But the villain of this season is my favorite. He's got to be my favorite villain. I mean, I still go back and forth between Prometheus and Deathstroke all the time, but Deathstroke when he's on screen, he's as menacing as Prometheus was, he is as villainous as Prometheus was, and he's as relevant as Prometheus was. That's why I just can't pick between the two of them, because the two of them are just so... They mirror each other in a lot of different ways. They're Oliver's past coming back to haunt him in a very fucked up way that Oliver just was not prepared for. He just didn't expect it to happen. And that is why season 2 is my favorite pick, is my favorite season of the entire series. Holy shit. I mean, again, this is my incredibly biased and unprofessional opinion. I am no professional by any means of the word, but this is my favorite season. Arrow is a great series, and if you haven't seen Arrow, you really should. So, have you seen Arrow? Do you like it? I imagine if you're this far into the video, you've obviously seen Arrow. So, did you like Arrow? Did you like structure this a little differently? Like, did you like season 7 more than season 4? I bet you did. I personally didn't, because I like a little more structure to my series, but that's just me. Comment below, let me know, and I'll see you guys next time.